What's up, Brett?
All right. We can't not talk about the Super Bowl on industry update. I will say this. I will say I've watched many a boring Super Bowls in the past. That was not a boring Super Bowl last night. But my question to start off that I would ask everybody is what's the lesson or the leadership lesson we should all have learned from that game last night?
Don't get caught on national TV screaming at your coach.
Yeah, that's a good lesson.
Very good.
What do you got, Matt?
Um, I think it pays to have a incredible leader, and the Patrick Mahomes story is he's 28 years old yet has a group of men who follow him, and in tough moments you always look for a leader, and they had very tough moments right last night, and his people showed up, and he was a leader in that moment. So I'd say it pays to have a great leader in tough
Yep,
moments.
that's a good one. The one that keeps ringing in my head is the best team does not always win. It's the team that plays the best that always wins. And I think about, well, I think that's going to come up a couple times in our discussion today, but are we playing our best? And if we're not, we're probably not winning because in the context of football, when you play at a professional level, um you have to be your best to win. And it's all about how you perform, and I think we can translate that into our conversation today a little bit. Matt, let's jump into some stats here. All right, let me get the screen up. Okay. So January actually came in a little bit behind January 2023. So we sold 4,394 homes in January 2023 in Metro Atlanta, FMLS data. And 2024, we sold 4,334, 60 homes less. So if you compare that, it's a 1% down for January 2024. You could call that neutral. I wouldn't say it's a positive or a negative sign. I would say it's a neutral sign. Um, I am optimistic in saying we believe 2024 is going to be a better year than 2023. Yet I can't show you that yet. And I think a lot of what's happening is everybody's sitting around waiting on these interest rates. And I think if you take the context of what I said earlier, Matt, around the best team doesn't always win, it's the team that plays the best. The people that are playing the best aren't waiting on interest rates. They're just playing the market the way the market is and performing their best. Yet the market, when you do general stats like this, it's how many homes transacted in that month. And just from a stats perspective, it was kind of neutral. We'll see, right, as the year goes on. I'm expecting February to be much more. Last year, we jumped from 4,400 homes in January to 5,800 homes in January. I mean, in February. Are we going to jump to 6,000 this February? I don't know yet. We'll see. We'll start to see it in the numbers as we go through. Yearly home sales. Obviously, we understand that 2023 was one of the lowest years in almost 10 years, right? So one of the comments is you bounce off the bottom. 2023 certainly should be the bottom, and we should be in some kind of a recovery in 2024, yet it's still early to predict that, right? Um, as far as pricing, we can kind of jump into pricing, but if you look at 2022, if you took the whole year, the median sales price averaged out to be 371. And if you took the whole year of 2023, the median sales price averaged out to be 377. So that shows an increase in pricing from 22 to 23. But the real data comes in, where is it? Here. Let me get let's just do all MLS for now. So this is the median price by month. So you can see in January 22, the median sales price was 343, and we went on a climb and it peaked in May or June at 399. But historically, that price goes up in the spring and peaks and comes down towards the winter months. So in December, that price came down to 355 from 395 in the summer months, which is almost 10%, right? So then in January, we started climbing in pricing. We peaked at 395 in June last year, and then it tapered off to, we finished the year at around 370, right? And January was 369,209. But if I take my cursor off, you can see that our pricing from the summer of 22 to the winter of the start of 23 was a pretty steep decline in pricing. Then we went up to the summer of last year, but the pricing didn't come down as steep. It was a softer landing. So if history tells us anything, pricing should be going up between now and the summer. And we understand that that's the spring month, multiple offers, push prices, that kind of thing. But if somebody asks you, are prices up or down? What would you say, Matt?
What month are you planning on selling?
Yeah, you can do that. Or just general. If you're talking to a buyer or seller, what is the projection of pricing? Is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell?
Yes, and why? Why do they want? I would ask them questions in particular, depending on how specific you want me to get here, Brett. But
Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm role playing with you. If a buyer or seller is asking, is it a good time to buy or sell in regards to pricing? What would you say?
yes.
You're always going to say yes, but tell me why.
Yes, and depending on your reason for asking the question and why you asked the question, I'd want to know more details. I don't know if
100%.
it's specifically right for you to buy or sell right now.
Yeah. I would answer the question saying, in last year, our prices, where'd it go? Our prices went up from 370 to 377. So that's like a 4% increase, right? And the projection is pricing in 24 is going to land in that 4 to 5% price increase. So it's always a good time to buy. Yet, if I'm trying to get micro about it, I'm only looking at micro for my own information, not for conversation with a seller or buyer. I think what I would tell a buyer right now is prices are going to get more expensive the closer we get to the summer. Prices historically climb from January to June. So the earlier you buy, the better deal you're going to get than if you wait until the summer. So I could make that statement, right? If I'm a seller, I'm going to tell them that the market is being pushed in the spring months and it declines after the summer. So we've got to get your house on the market in the middle of the push so we get you the best dollar value for your property before the market cools off. And I can show you that in pricing here.
If they don't also have to buy in that same market.
Well, in theory, yeah, but the point of it is you want to sell at the peak and buy at the bottom. So if the peak is the summer, I would want to be selling in the spring months and then looking for my transaction to close after that, right? But you're gonna get caught up in the details of this conversation. And what I would say is stay in the general statement of it, meaning prices are appreciating. They appreciated roughly 4% last year. We're expecting another 4 to 5% this year. um, what makes the most sense for you? Contrary, a media might latch on to that 369 sales price in December and say that price is lower. Oh, that graph's not right. That's lower than the 377 that 2023
Hmm.
averaged, right? So they would say, oh, prices went backwards, but it's not actually a true statement. I like to make sure people understand pricing appreciation or depreciation is a compared term to what that house was worth 12 months ago. And so in this case, that 369 in December or 370 in December a year before was 355. So that's a lot of price appreciation. That's almost 25,000, right? No, 15,000, which would be over right at 5%, right?
It's a really great point, Brett, and explaining that to people. And I don't think we do that very well on what month are you referring to? Because you're right. Right now, the media narrative is prices are down, but that's comparing an entire 2023 to January of 2024.
Correct. And that's an incorrect way to look at it. Yet the media will latch on to a story, right? And I think this is the real data. And this is why we put this site together. So you can pull up the real estate stats in front of a customer and show them the real numbers, right? And these Luke goes in every month and updates these. And if you ever catch an error, please let us know. But I don't think we have that many errors in here. This is pretty accurate data. All right, mortgage rates. So we peaked at 7.6 in October 2023. At the beginning of the year, it was 6.64. Right now, this is what rates look like. So I do believe there's an emotional thing that would happen with the consumer if that 30-year fix goes over 7%, which works against us. But right now we're hovering between 6 and 3/4 and 7%. There was an optimism at the beginning of the year that we were going to get a lot of downward movement in interest rates. That optimism has waned. And I'm just here to tell you this is what rates are going to look like till about May. The Fed doesn't have their next big meeting until late April. And I think we'll get interest rate relief in the summer, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of movement on interest rates before probably May. And this goes back to that comment, Matt. The best team doesn't always win. The team that plays the best. So if you're waiting on rates or your consumers are waiting on rates, they're going to pay the price of that wait on the price of the home they're buying.
Mhm.
So it's actually better to go ahead and just buy at the lower price, and the rate is what the rate is. And I think that's the professional way to approach it.
Yeah, two comments on this. Number one is the Fed's really trying to avoid a mistake in 1970s where they declined on rates too fast, and we have the whole inflation. I think we all know that by this point. Number two, your state of the market PowerPoint and that whole why it's so important to come to those is we did a great exercise on the price of waiting and being able to detail that out to people to show the thousands of dollars left on the table by waiting versus buying now. And if you can show that many people are visual in a way that they can understand it, it's the best way to actually show in a picture form 40, 50, 60, $70,000 over a 5-year period of waiting. Because Brett, I don't know about you, but I don't think in 5 years we'll have rates back where they were. I don't think that's ever coming back. So we're in a range now where the price of waiting can be articulated and shown in a very easy way. And we did that at the PowerPoint at the presentation. I think it's a do not miss.
Absolutely. Well, I think that the overarching message is waiting is always a bad thing in real estate if you're going to hold on to the real estate for longer than 3 to 5 years. Right now, the stats say people are holding on to real estate almost 9 years. So you can't lose uh, if you're going to hold on to real estate for 9 years, waiting on a rate let me rephrase. You can't lose if you're going to hold on to real estate that long, buying at today's rates and buying at today's prices. Outside of that, the only time you would lose is if you bought today and had to sell in the next 18 months. But anyway, all right, let's hit it. Fulton County. Oh, went too far. Right now, there's 711 active properties in Fulton County. We peaked at 755 at the beginning of the month last month, but today, this morning, there's 711. Remember, we started the year with 250. So this is a big climb in inventory and properties to show and sell. We've got 129 active under contract. These are healthy going under contract numbers in the last 7 days. 275 pending, super healthy numbers of houses under contract in Fulton County. And then 197 closed. For the middle of the month, that's a great number.
Right.
Remember, we're trying to see if February is going to have more closings than January. So if I just start comparing, the first week in January had 205. The first week in February had 151. Second week had 214. The second week had 197. We may be not necessarily exceeding January. We'll see. Depends on what happens the last 2 weeks of the month. If I'd run over, hit the cab. No. You ever feel like you spend your life waiting on the wheel, the spinning wheel? All right. Rolling over here. All right. DeKalb County's got 406 in active inventory, which is a lot up. 80 active under contract. 194, which is really high in the pending category. And 132 in the closing. Same exercise. That first week of January was 130. Went from 57 to 130. We went from 95 to 132. So it looks like DeKalb is actually up February versus January. And if I look at Cobb, we got 331 active inventory. Cobb went up fast and has just kind of held in the 300, 330 range for inventory. 81 under contract, same comment. They jumped up fast and they've kind of held 90, 82, 66, 91, 81 of number of houses going under contract. Pendings at 187, which is very healthy. And then 146 on the 7-day closing total for Cobb, which is the highest it's been. So they closed out quite a few contracts already this month. So overall, how would you summarize it, Matt?
Kind of meh. You're not seeing drastic changes either way. And I think that's following the trend of what we've seen with rates and January, February of past years. I mean, we would love to see a little bit of jump. I just think there's enough uncertainty out there to hold people in place, and I think that's what we're seeing.
There you go. Absolutely. All right, let's hit some topics. So, CoStar. Most people think when they hear CoStar, they think the giant commercial MLS, and they absolutely are the giant commercial MLS. They've done a really good job comparison to the residential MLSs at holding on to the data and keeping the people out of their data. Consequently, they are very wealthy. And what's happening is they are spending $1 billion on advertising. And what I don't think most real estate agents are in tune with yet is CoStar in the residential space is actually a couple things. But the first thing they are is apartments.com. So if you watched the Super Bowl last night, you probably saw an apartments.com ad. What is the play on apartments.com? It's really if you're going to move or rent an apartment in the US, the SEO, the Google pay-per-click, you're going to land on apartments.com almost naturally. So there's not a lot of competition from the internet space for apartment locating and that kind of thing. So that's a big play for them.
So, Brett, if I go and log into apartments.com, CoStar technically still has my data at that point. They grab my data.
100%. That is a apartment space play for them in the residential space. But what not sure everybody's learned or is about to learn is homes.com is their play in the residential space. Now, if I asked you 7, 8 years ago, did you ever do any lead gen with homes.com? A handful of people would say yes, and they would tell me it sucked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, homes.com is going to be a giant player like Zillow. They're going head to head with Zillow in the residential space, and they are pumping money into this thing. So, why I think it's important on this call to talk about it is one, awareness, but two, you might be doing lead gen with homes.com in the near future, very similar that you would be with Zillow. Is that a good or a bad thing? It's good if you get leads and it translates to income for you. It's bad if CoStar is a bad partner to our industry. And I don't think they're a bad partner to our industry now, but if they become really powerful, what happens, right? I don't know. I think it's just something to pay attention to. I certainly, if I'm an agent, I might go check out homes.com as a lead generation vehicle and see what it looks like. Because I want to piggyback on the $1 billion marketing, right? Yet, I think it was your office, Matt. They mailed me a poster that was like the size of an entire wall saying that they now dominate the SEO game. I mean, we could just play this game real quick and say homes for sale, uh, Marietta, Georgia. And realty.com, Zillow is still here, realtor.com is here, but here's homes.com. And this is on that paid top part, right? I think you'll see that they're in that game these days. And when you put $1 billion behind this, it's going to go nowhere but up, right? So it's something to pay attention to. I wouldn't be shocked if your clients start sending you leads or listings they want to look at that are coming from a homes.com platform. It's just something to pay attention to. All right. Luke sent me this article off CNN, and I tend to agree with it. Spring home buying and selling season just kicked off. What they're really saying is it takes a Super Bowl to happen before everybody decides they're going to go do open houses and double down on the spring market. And a lot of spring markets, you can go back and look that the numbers actually change after the Super Bowl because people are no longer stuck at home on the weekends watching football.
Yep.
I mean, I would be a proponent that people were out doing business before the Super Bowl, but it's just worthy of a mention since it was last night that here we go. Spring market is officially here. Make sense?
Yep.
All right, Matt, last one. This one I think's fun. So these are the top 5 home design trends for 2024. First are neutrals. So they're calling this color the color of the year, the peach fuzz. Matt, if I visited you at your house and your bedroom looked like this, we're going to talk. But
Yeah, zero peach fuzz at my house.
peach fuzz is the color of the year. What they're really saying is neutrals are back. I'm not sure we ever left neutrals, but light and bright neutral colors is a thing. Go mod with paneled walls. Here's what I see when I look at this picture. Matt, if you and I were looking at real estate and I've been in the industry 25 years, I actually don't think cabinets in homes have changed that much as they have in the last couple of years. And what I would say is this is almost a mid-century modern type look.
Mm-hmm.
And cabinets in homes look very different now than they did over the past 20 years. Meaning the typical wood panel cabinet with the panel in it was just what cabinets looked like forever.
Yep.
And this was a little crazy to put in a home 5-10 years ago, but now it's actually modern and fresh and popular.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that. The second thing is windows, the bigger the better. It's the same thing. It's mid-century modern becoming more traditional. And you're seeing that in the design trends. People want that indoor outdoor feel that the mid-century modern always had. But I think what this article is kind of making mention of is mid-century modern is actually becoming traditional again. And windows in property is a big design trend right now. The other thing, I don't like this one, but bend it like Beckham, whatever. They're talking about less 90 degrees, more curvature in furniture, more curvature in walls. The 90-degree design of the last 30, 40 years is starting to see more curves. They're talking about it being warm and warmth. Matt, you have any curves in your house?
No curves, just 90s.
I'm still not seeing it in a lot of the new construction, but I think we'll start to see it more. And then the last one, which I think is hysterical, people want their own pickleball court.
Mm-hmm.
And where I see this showing up in our world is I think HOAs, new home communities are going to start transforming that public space into pickleball courts. Mm-hmm. And I think the wealthy or the luxury real estate are going to start to take the age-old sport court and make it a little more pickleball. It's really taken our country by storm, and it's very trendy. Um, I know somebody that just installed a $50,000 pickleball court on their property. And I'm like, are you going to play that much? I guess so. Like it's a trend in
Yeah.
real estate right now.
In
Uh,
Milton, there's an equestrian farm that's being sold off, and when one of the plans for it was pickleball courts, as in the center of the neighborhood, having an extensive complex. These are going to be
It's awesome.
$2 million homes. It's a thing.
Yep.
it's a thing. It's a thing. So from a design thing, there you go. What'd you hear today? Matt?
Oh, I'll answer. I didn't know if that was to the crowd. I think we covered a ton. I think economic data, we're still waiting to find out where we're going to be. There's not a lot of movement. Um, I I would say that I think that going into the Super Bowl commercials, there were about 7 or 8 commercials that kind of surprised me. I know Open Door was back out there. There were different things being shown. So, and here's a comment: interest rates are here to stay till May. That was the biggest one, biggest takeaway, Brett.
Absolutely. All right, guys, there's your update on Monday.
See ya.
Later.